Sukhmani Sahib part, and you are going around and helping ladies.
So I don't know what extended family felt like. I was constantly in fear, and I had very low self-esteem, and I always sought out being comfortable. I have. Did it help me? In a way it did, but it didn't get me to this state. It helped. EMDR definitely helped, but.
So how do you feel about being in Texas and, you know, like you said, you've gone from Judaism to Sikhism?
ਸਤਿ ਸ਼੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ ਜੀ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ। ਅੱਜ ਮੈਂ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਇੱਕ ਬਹੁਤ ਹੀ ਪਿਆਰੀ ਸ਼ਖਸੀਅਤ, ਬਹੁਤ ਹੀ ਸਤਿਕਾਰਯੋਗ ਸਾਡੇ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਦੀ ਸ਼ਖਸੀਅਤ ਨੂੰ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਇੰਟਰੋਡਿਊਸ ਕਰਾਉਣ ਜਾ ਰਹੀ ਹਾਂ। ਜਿਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਕਿ ਮੈਂ ਪਿਛਲੇ ਐਪੀਸੋਡ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਵੀ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਇਹ ਮੈਂਸ਼ਨ ਕੀਤਾ ਸੀ ਕਿ ਸਾਡਾ ਮਕਸਦ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਇੰਸਪੀਰੇਸ਼ਨਸ ਨੂੰ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਸਾਹਮਣੇ ਲਿਆਉਣਾ ਹੈ ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਨੇ ਸਾਡੀ ਜ਼ਿੰਦਗੀ ਵਿੱਚ, ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਨੇ ਬਹੁਤ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਰੋਲ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਹੈਗਾ ਨਿਭਾਇਆ ਹੈ, ਔਰ ਉਹ ਸਾਡੇ ਰੋਲ ਮਾਡਲ ਹਨ। ਸਾਡੀ ਕੌਮ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਿਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਬਾਬੇ ਨਾਨਕ ਨੇ ਲਿਖਿਆ ਕਿ ਸੋ ਕਿਉ ਮੰਦਾ ਆਖੀਏ ਜਿਤ ਜੰਮੇ ਰਾਜਾਨ, ਸੋ ਇਸਤਰੀ ਦਾ ਦਰਜਾ ਬਾਬੇ ਨਾਨਕ ਦੇ ਸਮੇਂ ਤੋਂ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਮਿਲਿਆ, ਔਰਤ ਨੂੰ ਦਰਜਾ ਦਿੱਤਾ ਗਿਆ ਕਿ ਮਰਦ ਤੇ ਔਰਤ ਦੀ ਬਰਾਬਰਤਾ ਦਾ ਦਰਜਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਮਿਲਿਆ। ਅਜੇ ਤੱਕ ਕਿੱਥੋਂ ਤੱਕ ਇਹ ਕਾਮਯਾਬ ਅਸੀਂ ਹੋਏ ਆ ਔਰਤ ਦੇ ਬਰਾਬਰ ਨੂੰ, ਮਰਦ ਨੂੰ ਬਰਾਬਰ ਦਰਜਾ ਦੇਣ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ, ਇਹ ਤਾਂ ਸਮਾਂ ਹੀ ਦੱਸਦਾ ਹੈ ਔਰ ਸਮਾਂ ਹੀ ਦੱਸੇਗਾ। ਪਰ ਅੱਜ ਸਾਡੇ ਕੋਲ ਇੱਕ ਬਹੁਤ ਹੀ ਪਿਆਰੀ ਸ਼ਖਸੀਅਤ ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਦਾ ਨਾਂ ਹੈ ਸ਼ਬਦ ਪ੍ਰਿਆ ਕੌਰ ਜੀ, ਉਹ ਸਾਡੇ ਕੋਲ ਆਏ ਹਨ ਤੇ ਇਹ ਹੈਡ ਗ੍ਰੰਥੀ ਰਹੇ ਹਨ ਗੁਰੂ ਘਰ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ। ਹੈਡ ਗ੍ਰੰਥੀ ਹਨ, ਮੈਂਟਰ ਹਨ, ਟੀਚਰ ਹਨ, ਐਂਡ ਇਹ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਹਨ ਕਿ I only bow down before the ਗੁਰੂ ਗ੍ਰੰਥ ਸਾਹਿਬ। ਸੋ ਇਹ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਮੇਰਾ ਗੁਰੂ ਸ੍ਰੀ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਗੁਰੂ ਗ੍ਰੰਥ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਹੈ। ਸੋ ਇਹ ਟੈਕਸਸ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਰਹਿੰਦੇ ਹਨ ਤੇ USA ਅਮਰੀਕਾ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਸਿੱਖ ਮਿਸ਼ਨਰੀ ਕਾਲਜ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਪੜ੍ਹਾਈ ਕੀਤੀ ਹੈ ਤੇ ਇਹ ਗੁਰੂਜ਼ ਹਾਊਸ ਦੇ ਫਾਊਂਡਰ ਹਨ ਤੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਉਹ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਤੋਂ ਜਾਣਾਂਗੇ। ਤੇ ਇਹ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਹਨ, ਇਹ ਆਡਿਟ ਮੈਨੇਜਰ ਵੀ ਰਹੇ ਹਨ, ਫਾਰਮਰ ਆਡਿਟ ਮੈਨੇਜਰ ਵੀ ਰਹੇ ਹਨ, IT ਕੰਸਲਟੈਂਟ ਵੀ ਰਹੇ ਹਨ ਤੇ ਬਹੁਤ ਹੀ ਵੱਡੀਆਂ ਕੰਪਨੀਆਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਜੌਬਸ ਕੀਤੀਆਂ ਹਨ। ਇਹ ਫੋਰੈਂਸਿਕ ਸਾਈਕੋਲੋਜੀ ਤੇ ਕ੍ਰਿਮੀਨਲ ਪ੍ਰੋਫਾਈਲਿੰਗ ਦੇ ਵੀ ਮਾਹਰ ਹਨ। ਕਲਾਸੀਕਲ ਮਿਊਜ਼ਿਕ, ਪਿਆਨੋ ਤੇ ਵੌਇਸ ਨੂੰ ਇਹ ਪ੍ਰਮੋਟ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਨ, ਬਹੁਤ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਜਾਣਕਾਰੀ ਹੈ ਉਹਦੀ। ਤੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਫਾਦਰ ਦਾ ਨਾਮ ਗੁਰੂ ਗੋਬਿੰਦ ਸਿੰਘ ਦੱਸਦੇ ਹਨ ਤੇ ਆਪਣੀ ਮਾਤਾ ਜੀ ਦਾ ਨਾਮ ਮਾਤਾ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਕੌਰ ਦੱਸਦੇ ਹਨ। ਗੁਰੂ ਗੋਬਿੰਦ ਸਿੰਘ ਜੀ ਦੇ ਫਲਸਫੇ ਤੇ ਗੁਰੂ ਗੋਬਿੰਦ ਸਿੰਘ ਜੀ ਦੇ ਗੁਰੂ ਗ੍ਰੰਥ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਦੇ ਹੁਕਮਨਾਮੇ ਦੇ ਅਨੁਸਾਰ ਚੱਲਦੇ ਹਨ ਤੇ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਉਸ ਅਨੁਸਾਰ ਚੱਲਣ ਲਈ ਗਾਈਡ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਨ। ਇਹ ਆਪਣੇ ਸਿੱਖ ਧਰਮ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਆਉਣ ਤੋਂ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਬੁੱਧਿਸਟ ਸਨ ਤੇ ਇਹ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਪਾਠੀ ਦੀਆਂ ਡਿਊਟੀਆਂ ਨਿਭਾਈਆਂ ਤੇ ਗੁਰੂ ਘਰਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਬਹੁਤ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਸੇਵਾ ਤੇ ਬਹੁਤ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਸਿੱਖ ਕੌਮ ਦੇ ਬੱਚਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ, ਔਰਤਾਂ ਨੂੰ, ਮਰਦਾਂ ਨੂੰ, ਪੂਰੀ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਨੂੰ, ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਆਪਾਂ ਕਹਿ ਸਕਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਕਿ ਬਹੁਤ ਹੀ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਸੇਧ ਦਿੱਤੀ ਹੈ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਇਸ ਸਰੂਪ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ, ਸਿੱਖੀ ਸਰੂਪ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਇਹ ਸੇਵਾ ਨਿਭਾ ਰਹੇ ਹਨ। ਅਸੀਂ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਤੋਂ, ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਜਰਨੀ ਬਾਰੇ ਅੱਜ ਕੁਝ ਜਾਣਾਂਗੇ। ਮੇਰੇ ਨਾਲ ਹਨ ਮੇਰੀ co-host ਅਮਰ ਕੌਰ ਸੰਘੇੜਾ ਜੀ ਤੇ ਉਹ ਵੀ ਸਾਈਕੋਲੋਜਿਸਟ ਹਨ ਤੇ ਮੈਂ ਬੇਨਤੀ ਕਰਾਂਗੀ ਅਮਨ ਨੂੰ ਕਿ ਉਹ ਜ਼ਰੂਰ ਸਾਡੇ ਇਸ ਗੈਸਟ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਸਾਡੇ ਸ਼ਬਦ ਪ੍ਰਿਆ ਜੀ ਕੌਰ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਹਨ, ਇੱਕ ਪਬਲਿਕ ਫਿਗਰ ਹਨ, ਹੈਡ ਗ੍ਰੰਥੀ ਹਨ ਤੇ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਮੁਲਾਕਾਤ ਕਰਨ।
ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ, ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ। Welcome Shabad Priya Kaur. It's so lovely to meet you today. It's really great. So please, can you introduce yourself, how you would like everyone to know a little bit about you first? That would be great.
I live in Dallas, Texas, in the US, and I used to be Jewish, and I have been a Sikh, a traditional Sikh in a mostly Punjabi Gurdwara, about 8 years. And I came to the Guru after a near-death experience, and I focus my days now on caring for women and doing social service referrals and sitting with them in their last minutes, and being a person that they can come to in Gurdwara when they need to speak to somebody, and expanding the role of Granthi to include outreach and in-reach to address women and children's needs, and to build bridges between women and even our community and the new community that many immigrants find themselves in. And I do that without losing traditions and language and those things. And I'm about to be a certified ESL teacher as well. So I'm excited about that. But I do not speak Punjabi. However, I do deliver Nitnam in Punjabi. So
That's beautiful.
I don't know how that happens. It just does. So
well, that's wonderful. That is really good. So I'd like to explore a little bit with you, if you could share with us. You know, you've mentioned quite a lot of things there, but how do you feel about sharing your story on how you found your path towards Sikhi?
I think it's important that that I share who I am and how I came to Sikhi with others. And I think it's important that I share how I feel about things, and even my day-to-day struggles being a new person in a new culture, the things that I'm unfamiliar with, because people are curious. And what's interesting about it is that it shows people that I am very much like they are here in the diaspora with new things, because in the beginning I heard a lot of, oh, you're English, we don't trust the English. And in the beginning, in a lot of ways, I kind of felt the same way, because I wasn't sure sometimes why something was this way or that way. And but as I share my thinking process or how my views change, I show that, you know, I am very much like the Punjabis. And as time has gone on, when I say our community and us and we, they've seen that progression of growth, and they know that I mean that. And so all of this negativity about, oh, Granthis only care about this or that or whatever, those things don't come to play with me, because, you know, I've removed those obstacles in their thinking of how they view me. I don't even touch money. It doesn't pass my hand ever. I've removed all of those things, you know, and I think that's beautiful, because we truly, I stand next to my brothers and sisters, and we show Americans in Texas who are challenging. We show them the many faces of Sikhi, because that's really what Guru Nanak and Guru Gobind Singh and Kabir and everybody along the way has said, right? That we are many and we can look different and we can speak different languages and everything, but we stand side by side and we can work on things and we can look completely different. And I'm part of the embodiment of that. And I love that I'm part of that role.
That is so inspiring and beautiful, isn't it? That truly is heartfelt. As you say very clearly, there are many faces to Sikhi. That is beautiful. That is really nice. So how do you feel about being in Texas and, you know, like you said, you've gone from Judaism to Sikhism, and you've had quite a lot of experiences that you were sharing with me. How about sharing them here on the platform and the root cause of what's really allowed you to be this authentic, deep-rooted person that is now inspiring the community, not just local community, but nationally and internationally?
I have, as a Jew in Texas and a woman, you know, I always thought I understood what it was to be a minority. And I can honestly say I had no idea. None. I had a near-death experience on an operating room table, and almost 10 years ago. And during that experience, I had a vision, for lack of a better way to explain it. I know it was chemicals in my brain of my father coming to me and telling me that we all had a purpose in life and that we were all born with a purpose, and that part of our experience was to place ourselves in places where we are uncomfortable, because that's where we learn and grow, and that we are meant to be in those types of situations our entire life until the end, so that we are constantly evolving as human beings. And that some of us, me, I had always kept myself in a comfortable place. I grew up with my mother and my stepfather. They were very, very abusive. I grew up isolated from my extended family, including my birth father. So I don't know what extended family felt like. I was constantly in fear, and I had very low self-esteem, and I always sought out being comfortable. And when I found a place of being comfortable, whether it was as a child in a comfortable room or with a friend, I never really trusted that person. And as an adult, even though I'd been into therapy for years, I still overcompensated, trying to prove to myself that I was smart and lovable and worthy. And when I found a job or a profession that I liked, I clung to those things. I didn't reach for more. I didn't take chances that I should have. And in this vision, as I lay dying on this operating room table, my father was telling me I had completely done it all wrong. And I thought I was quite successful given my upbringing. I really did. And here he is telling me that while I'm dying, I had completely screwed it all up. And I even made a horrible comment. I said, why isn't God telling me this? And he said, if God had come down and told you this, you wouldn't have believed it. Perhaps if in the guise of seeing your Father's face, you might believe it more readily. And I said, okay, maybe you could give me a hint about what I'm supposed to be doing exactly. And he said, you're supposed to be a bridge builder between communities. But first, you have to find out who you are. You have to define yourself. We all have to build ourselves, not based on what others think of us, but based on our experience interacting with others in the world around us. And the next thing I know, I wake up from surgery and I'd had a stroke. I couldn't speak. I was half paralyzed. And over the next 8 months, as I was rehabilitated, I had a lot of time to think about exactly where I had gone wrong and what I was going to do about it. And so that's when I started my journey to find my place in the world.
Wow. And who inspired you? Who was it that led you into Sikhi?
Well, like everybody else, the first thing that you do is you start reading a lot. I've been reading books about religion and spirituality since I was 12. And I knew that none of that was going to be with me. But I was fascinated with death. And I didn't understand really what had happened to me. So I went to a bookstore, and what struck me was I live in an area that is predominantly Christian. This is the deep South. And yet, when I walked in this very large bookstore, the busiest section in this bookstore was the religion section. And there were so many people crammed in there, looking at books and pulling books out. Oh, I've read that one. That was very good. And helping each other and talking about what they had read and where they had gone and this, that, and the other. And it struck me, what is wrong with us that we are grown adults in our 30s, 40s, 50s, all the way up? I mean, the whole range. And I wondered, what is wrong with us that we are this old and we have not even figured out our spiritual self yet? I mean, we should have, I thought, figured this out by now. We really should have. And so I knew that my answer wasn't going to be there. If they hadn't figured it out and I hadn't figured it out, then that wasn't going to be it. And a friend of mine said, had I asked a Native American shaman? And that's somebody, indigenous to this country. And I said, no, I don't even know one of those. And he said he would find me somebody. So he did. And I went and I spoke to her. And what struck me was we see stories, we see themes that are similar. We see truths that are the same in different religions and different spiritual forms. In they're truths and we see them. They may be a little different, but we see them repeated here and there. You see this similar thread, or you'll see a story that repeats here, there, and there from these paths that seem dissimilar, but they're actually incredibly similar. And we were talking about death, and I never said anything to this person about what had happened to me in the operating room. And we were talking, and she said, "Do you know anything about Sikhism?" And I said, "No, I don't." And I said, "Why do you ask?" And she said, "Because Judaism has a lot of beliefs that are very, very similar." And I had talked enough to her about my own beliefs in life that I had followed. Things like honor and dignity and being truthful and defending people. I've always been a big defender of the innocent, because for years I waited for someone to come and save me as a child. It never happened. So I always made myself available to be that person, which is why I studied criminal psychology. You know, I wanted to be able to spot the bad guy. But I said, no, I don't think, I've never seen a Sikh in where I live in Dallas. Are you kidding? And she said, well, why don't you go see? And she just had a feeling. I don't know how that happened. So I came home, and I am married to a Buddhist.
Oh.
And I asked him, we've lived in the town where we live for 4 decades. And I said, is there I didn't even know the word Gurdwara. I had written it down. And I said, is there a Gurdwara in this town? And he said, oh, no, I know this town very well. There's not one. And I said, I know. We looked it up on Google. And there was 2 miles from our 2 miles.
Oh.
Yeah. So the following Friday, I went to the Gurdwara that afternoon. And the one person spoke to me very nicely, and but was very, very careful not to sway me. I think the belief in not proselytizing actually keeps Sikhs from sharing their own personal beliefs and stories a little too much. And so his talking to me was very, very guarded, which to me was, it made me it didn't feel as welcoming as perhaps I would have preferred. But then I was there long enough that that service came, and he invited me to stay, of course. And the old me would have said no, because it would have been uncomfortable to be the only person with this complexion, to be so conspicuous that people would be looking and saying, who is that? Have you met that person? You know, why is she here? And I would have run, literally. But I didn't, because I remembered what that vision of my father said: step into the unknown, into the uncomfortable. So I took a deep breath, and I said, yes, I'll stay. And so service started. I sat and the music started. And I used to be a musician, and I had not sung in 30 years because I was angry at God about not saving me. Because, I'm sorry, I'm getting emotional. Music to me is God's language. In any language. And as I sat there, this music sounded familiar to me. And I stayed the entire service. I stayed for longer. I stayed for all of it. And I went home. And my husband looked at his watch and he said, "Do you know you've been gone all afternoon and evening?" I mean, he wasn't very happy with me. And I said, yes, I'm so sorry. I missed dinner. And after I appeased him, he said, "What happened?" And I said, it felt like I came home. It felt like I had come home after being gone on a long journey. And it was so weird to me because I had never felt like I'd ever been at home, ever, even in my own home. Because I had always lived such a guarded life.
Wow.
So since that day, I do not live a guarded life. I let it all be out there. Even I know we're supposed to live this life of Chardi Kala, but it doesn't mean that we're so smiley perfect every day, every minute. What it means is that when we are faced with adversity or sadness or whatever, it's how we respond to it. That's what it's talking about. So I let everybody see that and see how I approach those problems or difficulties or whatever, because difficulties are part of our growth process. And you know, if I feel like I don't go to therapy anymore, but if I feel like I do need to go and talk to an impartial person, I don't hide that because there's nothing to be ashamed of. But to be honest, I don't need to, because Nitnam, for some strange reason, Nitnam does it for me. That soothes my soul. That when I do jop sab in the morning and we're uttering the attributes of Waheguru, right? Those can be affirmations of ourselves as we're looking in the mirror, as we're getting ready. And for someone like myself who used to have a low self-esteem, it's gold, you know. So my experience has completely transformed how I approach life. And my husband will say to anybody that asks, "This is the happiest I've ever been in my entire life." And it's true. And it's cost me. It's some of my family thinks I have lost my mind. And that's okay. That's their journey. I need not worry about that. And I'm not worried about it. And I just worry about myself because that's what I'm supposed to worry about.
Of course.
Beautiful. Now, you mentioned so much about your journey there. You mentioned so much about how you discovered Sikhi, and my goodness, I didn't know it was that profound. It's really unique the way that you've come into it. But also the instant connection that you had was brilliant, right?
Yeah, I cannot explain it. I don't know.
And hearing you today, it's still there. Like the connection is so strong, and it's stronger because you've mentioned how actually I'm now incorporating everything that I've learned.